Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, it's the end of an era, the end of a semester. I was just thinking of this. We have my lovely interns from Elon University here from the first the pilot program of having Elon interns.
Yeah.
Emily Prince and JD Grant. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, so weird to not be behind the cameras.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, it's so weird to like think of. I haven't thought in terms of semesters in such a long time.
Yeah.
Because once you graduate from college,
you don't think about
it
Exactly,
anymore,
yeah.
and time just flows.
It just all rolls into one big
and it
ball.
all rolls into one thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've had so much going on over the past like 3, or I guess it's like 4 months that I've known y'all, that it's just like a blip. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, there was a lot going on for y'all.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just
Our
breezed
semester.
on by.
Wow,
You had
yeah,
a semester though.
So much. Yeah.
We did.
It has been a pleasure to have y'all,
Thank you.
as you have so eloquently put it, JD, the best intern team, the most amazing intern team ever in existence. Excuse me.
Yes.
Very
Very accurate.
Very
Yeah.
succinct. And before we get a little too far in, let's just talk. I want to get, because you have just been behind the camera this whole time.
Yeah.
So I want y'all to be introduced to the Blockbusting audience proper. Just tell me a little bit about like your what you're studying, what you're thinking about doing after you graduate.
Yeah.
As the ice cream truck comes to
yes.
celebrate.
Gotta love it.
We're doing. This is the best part about recording outdoors.
Yeah.
This feels like much more of an episode of This American Life than
It
anything
does.
ever
You're
has
so
before,
right. You're so
Exactly.
right.
Immersive experience.
Ladies first.
Take it away.
Okay, all right. Well, hi, my name is Emily. I am a junior at Elon. I'm studying cinema and television arts. I've been kind of focusing on documentary at Elon, but I'm also have a big love of comedy. I have for years been co-running Elon Tonight, which is our sketch comedy show, which I just found out I'm actually being invited back to be show producer once again for senior year. So
Nice.
Congrats.
very excited about that. Of comedy as well. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. And it's been amazing. I love doing post-production work and I love working with unscripted stuff. And this has been a real just amazing opportunity for me.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Remind you of the tour guide intro at all?
Yeah.
Yes,
The opening
it
of
took
it?
effort to not just give my tour guide spiel. All three of us are
We all
tour guides.
tour guides. Yeah, I don't even remember what my tour guide spiel was when I was
Yeah.
Elon. I was because I was the game show host. I was the Win
Yeah.
Stuff host.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That's wild.
I tried looking up old Win Stuff episodes, and I can't find any of the
You
ones
can't
that I
find
was
them.
on.
Oh, no.
I'm sure they have it
I'm
somewhere.
sure it's probably
There's somewhere.
It's
They
got to
have
be on the
somewhere.
YouTube archives.
Yeah.
Because we were the first. My year is the first year to start uploading them to YouTube.
Oh wow.
Okay.
But we had that was my big part of my intro. Was
Yeah.
I host the game show on
Wow.
campus, and I would show them the studio and be like, see, this is where we do
Yes,
the thing.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm just putting this together now, but did you go to school with around the same time of the guys who are doing the Are You Kidding TV thing? The TikTokers?
I don't even know what that is.
No, okay. 'Cause
Really?
They started after hours. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that was.
Oh, see,
before
after
you
hours, I
or-
just missed.
Okay.
After
Ah,
hours
okay.
happened
After.
immediately
Okay.
after me.
Okay.
So
Wow.
there's two YouTubers or TikTokers who like come to campus and they're big on TikTok now, but they start after hours. So I wasn't sure.
Okay.
if you're-
Are they the ones who
they don't talk and they just have a thing on
Yes.
their chest,
Yes.
and then they like give
Yeah,
out prizes.
that's-
Yeah.
I have never seen, or no, I did see them in person once when they came to the org fair and they came up to our table and we were like, we thought that they were students. It was a little weird because they were obviously a little older, but like, hey, interested in Elon Tonight? And they're like, no, we're alumni.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
why are you here?
Yeah.
I saw them. Yeah, I remember seeing one of their TikToks that came up in my For You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's
That's
Elon.
Elon.
Elon,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
They're cool, but anyway.
They seem cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
JD.
Yeah. So, JD Grant. I'm also a junior at Elon University studying economics and film production. So I really enjoy the intersection between business and entertainment.
Great line.
Great line.
Great line.
LinkedIn bio.
Perfect for a resume.
Yep.
Top line synopsis.
There you go. But yeah, no, so for Jay Light on the Blockbusting podcast, I have been helping with some of the pre-production things, setting up the camera and the set design a little bit, and then just recently kind of getting into editing the show and putting that together. So yeah, it's been a great experience. I've loved it. It's really funny trying to hold back my laughs behind the camera.
Yes.
But now I get to be in front of it.
You get to be in front of
great,
it, and
yeah.
you can laugh all you want.
Laugh all we want.
Yeah, and apparently in today's episode, I'm going to be the odd man out.
Yes.
So
Doesn't make sense.
yeah, so this is a movie we're talking
Great
about where I got it got listed as the Interns debate, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I am intrigued to see that because I read both of your notes, and it seems like both of y'all didn't like this movie, so I don't know what the
Really?
debate is. Because I think
That's
Interesting.
incorrect. I love this movie.
interesting.
I-
That is
I
not
was-
the impression I,
was
got from
goaded-
reading
I was
the
goaded
pre-review.
into giving criticism of it.
Sure.
Which there is legitimate criticism
So
of it,
I did a good
but
job.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
it's
Very good.
such a good movie. I think we should give some backstory on how we decided on this because
please. I'd love to hear.
We were in between two movies because I famously hate The Greatest Showman.
And and so this is a movie, Homecoming.
Yes.
You own on iTunes.
I
and
own
you've
on
watched multiple
iTunes. I've
times.
seen it multiple times.
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah.
The Greatest Showman, I own on Amazon, and I've seen multiple times.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, we need to do one of these clearly
Yeah.
because we both have some very strong feelings about them in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really want to watch The Greatest Showman again, but I would love to watch Homecoming again. And you just kind of let me
I
have
was like,
that.
fine, yeah.
Yeah.
And
so-
you hadn't seen Homecoming before.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen
So
it.
it was a good.
And one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do on the show is always I love
movies.
watching a movie that I've never seen before because I get to come in it with completely fresh eyes. And it's hard to do that with a Marvel movie. Like
yeah, because it's so
it's
Marvel.
It's so
Yeah,
Marvel,
very Marvel.
and if you've seen any movie later on past it, which I have, I've seen a number of the
So
movies
many.
that have happened later.
Guess
on.
who she saw last night?
Doctor Strange
I did.
With
with Tom Holland.
Kevin Feige. Showed
Yeah.
up at the
Kevin
theater.
Feige
Oh,
showed
wow.
up. Danny Elfman
And-
was there. Sam Raimi was also there.
Nice.
Who's the
Came out on
director of the
stage.
I
original
love,
Spider-Man?
yes,
Yeah.
and directed Doctor also directed Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he did.
That's
It was
important.
an
But-
interesting movie. I'll say that.
I want to see it, but I also still have a feeling that Everything Everywhere All at Once is the multiverse movie
That's
of all
fair.
time.
I
Yes.
still need to watch it. I have not seen it.
Oh, I
I
mean,
need to see it. It's gonna have to wait until I get back, but
I have learned to not overhype that movie too much. But I do think it's the best movie I've seen all year,
Wow.
and maybe the best movie
I've heard
of
a
the
lot
past
of hype
decade.
about it. So
That's so interesting.
Yes,
Yeah. Wow.
it's a fantastic movie.
When did No Way Homecoming? No Way Homecoming.
Oh.
No Way Home come out.
December, Christmas.
that's right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember.
You're
So
right.
let's say I saw that in January. That's the best movie I've seen this year. Which you
What's the best
strongly
movie
disagree
I've
with.
seen?
I strongly
Yeah.
disagree with.
I have not watched many movies this year. I
Did y'all
can tell
see-
you, definitely was not the Jane Campion one. That
Oh, Power of the Dog.
Power of the Dog definitely was not Power of the
Oh,
Dog.
Good news, didn't win any awards.
Yes, very happy about that.
I saw Coda recently too. Did
I
y'all
need to
see
watch
Coda?
that.
No,
I
I
have
do
not
wanna
seen
see
it.
that, though.
I need to see it.
It's fun, it's
Yeah.
fun and light and breezy, and it makes you cry, and it's a good
Oh,
time.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do remember what the best movie I've seen all year was, which is not relevant to this conversation. It's a documentary is up for best documentary feature and did not win. It was very sad. But
Flea?
phenomenal.
I've heard great things.
Absolutely phenomenal.
I gotta watch that.
We don't need to get into my many thoughts about Flea of how it's the perfect documentary, despite it not really being a documentary.
But so let's talk about Spider-Man: No Way Home,
Yes.
or Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Homecoming.
So
Spider-Man
No Way.
Homecoming.
So I'm sure I've probably talked about this on episodes that y'all have been witness to.
Yes.
But I'm not a huge superhero movie guy.
Yeah.
I grew up in the age of the superhero movie becoming really a thing and the MCU existing and growing into what it is now.
Yeah.
And I remember like I saw a couple movies in the early MCU, like Phase 1. I stopped really caring after that, and I don't seek them out. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
do. Obviously, they still put up huge numbers.
Yeah.
And this is another one of those movies that I was just like, okay, yeah, I have no desire to see this really. Like my friends
Homecoming
will
is
be
what it is.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Homecoming. Because I think that the thing with Marvel movies is it's like it's a real paint by numbers situation at this point, right?
Yeah.
Every movie's got like the same kind of witty dialogue, action scenes with dubious CGI at
Yeah.
worst and actually effective CGI at best.
Yeah.
But like just like barely effective. And
Scraping by.
Yeah. And characters who are played by some really good like ringer actors, and then some who you don't really you don't really feel tied to them emotionally.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And I think this hits all of those things on like all of those numbers have been painted by in this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think it does like a particularly bad job, but I don't think it does a particularly good job either. It's just kind of middle of the road for me.
I feel like we both disagree, but for opposite reasons.
Yes,
Well,
I'm intrigued.
Marvel films in general, I think, are very much paint by numbers. I think that's a great way to put it. And I feel like with those movies in general, specifically Homecoming, like they know it's going to earn its money back plus more.
Sure.
Regardless of like how the movie actually is. And so they don't need to put effort into it. They can kind of just be like, here.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what Homecoming is. Like of the 8 Spider-Man movies, I guess there are, like by far the worst one.
Wow.
Yeah, by far.
That's crazy
By
because
far.
we live in a world where the Amazing Spider-Man 2
It
exists.
does.
And I think the Amazing Spider-Man, you can't say trilogy.
Duology.
Failed trilogy.
Yeah, failed trilogy is great.
Interesting.
Ooh,
But what do you think, Emily?
Okay,
Because you like this movie.
I do genuinely love this movie.
You love this movie?
I
Oh,
do.
no.
Love it.
I
Love
like
it.
it
Oh.
doesn't break my top films list, but I think it does a really great job at what it's setting out to do. For context, I have not seen any other Spider-Man movies except for the Tom Holland ones. So I'm coming in with an unbiased
crazy.
perspective.
Because Spider-Man
That's
2
so
is
crazy.
right.
Spider-Man 2
Yeah.
is like the pinnacle of all the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I know. I'm gonna watch it eventually, but
That
for
we agree
context,
on.
Yes.
I got into Marvel in high school, and I was watching through all the movies. It wasn't on. It still isn't on streaming. It wasn't on streaming at the time, so I was like, okay, like I'm gonna rent this on iTunes, see if I like it. And I watched it, and I was like, oh, it's not just a Marvel movie. It's a coming of age dramedy.
Yes.
And I was like, this is very different from all the like 20 something I've seen before, and it's different than any that I've seen since. And I like that there's many things I like about it, but we'll get into those later.
I think to the point you just made about
Yeah.
it being a coming of age dramedy, I do agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I think that is why in the grand scheme of Marvel movies, I always feel like the ones that I actually have watched and enjoyed have been ones that didn't feel quite like a superhero movie the entire time.
Exactly.
I think
exactly.
that this does a really good job of feeling like it's a bit of a genre play in that vein, as opposed to just being a superhero origin story, which you would expect the first movie in the introduction of a superhero to the MCU is going to be.
yeah.
I've superhero origin stories, they're a dime a dozen. You see them all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that this one, in the same vein of like Black Panther and Thor Ragnarok, where it takes
love Thor Ragnarok.
It's really well. They're both
Thor Ragnarok,
Yes,
So good.
I think
Taika
that
Waititi.
they're so good, and I think that those both work too because you bring in somebody in the creative side of the movie, whether it's the writer, the director, both, who has a different vision from what you expect to see in a Marvel movie. Sometimes Marvel does that and it works. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Eternals, I think it doesn't quite work.
I've not seen it.
It's fine.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Captain Marvel, it works sometimes, but it didn't fully work.
Yep.
But Thor Ragnarok famously works incredibly well.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy works incredibly well. And I think this one, I can't speak to the director's oeuvre because he has not directed movies like this before.
Yeah.
He had only he directed a horror movie called Clown. And
I wonder what that one's about.
that one, it's about a clown.
Makes
And
sense.
it's about an Icelandic demon named the Cloyne.
Oh.
This as a movie I would like to see. And also he directed this movie Cop Car. I don't know if either of y'all have seen that.
Not seen Cop Car.
It's a movie that's, I guess, sort of a coming of age dramedy a little bit about two teenagers who steal a cop car.
This sounds fun.
Sounds
Yeah.
like that's like a good bucket list item.
It seems like a fun time, right?
Don't know if it's my bucket list item, but that's fair. That's fair.
But I do think that I can't speak to John Watts' work as a director, but I do think that having on the creative side, even though there's like 7 writers on this movie, having 2 of them be John Francis Daly and
I don't have it.
you don't have it on the cheat sheet.
JD. Wow.
JD slacking at the end of the
JD.
semester.
It's so hard to predict what Jay is gonna bring up in the episode.
That's why you gotta do post production.
Yes.
You just put the puzzle pieces together after. It's
That's
great.
all you need to do. Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, who both have, obviously, have y'all ever seen Freaks and Geeks?
Not.
Okay.
You'll soon learn I'm a very bad film major who
We
has not
clearly
seen
don't
many movies.
subscribe to J-Flix at
We
$5 a
don't.
month.
Yeah,
You could.
we don't. We need to.
Freaks and Geeks not on J-Flix, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But I remember, this is a throwback, college, I still had a DVD subscription for Netflix.
Wow, I remember
My
growing
family had
up.
one of those.
My family didn't. My
The good
family
old
was
days of Netflix.
very
Good old
late in
days.
adopting it. By my friend's family had a DVD subscription to Netflix. I remember
You
that.
get them in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got them in the mail, and
Very
I
fun.
watched...
We used Redbox.
Yes, and it was great.
Box
I
is
never
so
got
good.
into Redbox.
Really? There was one in my hometown.
There's one on the
weekend.
ShopRite.
Redbox is solid.
But
But Netflix DVDs, I watched Freaks and Geeks when I was a junior. And Freaks and Geeks, John Francis Daly is one of the leads on that. And it's a fantastic coming of age dramedy.
Yeah.
So he and Jonathan Goldstein,
they know
who
how, right? Okay.
they've worked together on movies. They're a filmmaking duo. They wrote the script for Horrible Bosses. They wrote the script for Burt Wonderstone. They understand how comedy is supposed to work in a way that I don't think a lot of other Marvel
Yeah.
creative types really actually do.
And that's one of the
Interesting.
things.
Yeah.
That's
It's
one of the things
I
that
don't like about it.
Really,
Really?
I have the opposite spirit. This is genuinely one that I agree. This is one of the funnier Marvel movies, and it's
Yeah.
even I rewatched this last weekend, and I think this has been easily the 4th time since I've seen it. I still laughed at almost every joke. Like, it still holds up for the most part, and there's some really funny moments in there.
Yes.
It's my only criticism in that lens is that at times it's like too funny. Like it never holds a serious
Really?
note.
Oh no, I wholly
Really?
disagree.
And I'm like, it kills because basically my biggest like critique of the film, to me, a Spider-Man movie is similar kind of to like Captain America, where you have a kid who is like a good kid, but scrawny or just not the popular kid.
Sure.
Who gets this opportunity with these amazing powers, and then on like the Spider-Man side of thing, one goes through loss and comes back from that to figure out how to like be the role that he's meant to be and like save his city.
Right.
In this movie, we don't even have a city.
Yeah.
well,
There
Well-
is no New York City.
There's-
There's him recreating the Ferris Bueller scene.
Yeah.
Running through the backyard.
That's fun.
that's
and-
really fun. I like that part a lot.
But yeah, and I don't
make a
think
good point.
there's like a serious note that it holds.
Oh, the scene after the
This is the part where the interns debate, just like the title says.
yes, the scene after the ferry scene where Tony is
With Tom,
talking to
yeah.
Peter. I remember I made notes about this. But it I'm not one to cry at movies, but it gets me emotional every time. And I think I have specific pain points when it comes to things, and one of them is coming to terms with the fact that your best will never be good enough, and you messed up. That gets me every time. And what's the other thing? I wrote trying your best and it's still not, or no. Having the one thing you're good at that defines you as a person ripped away is the gifted kid to burnout film major pipeline that I experienced personally. So every time Tony says, that wasn't good enough, and like if you can't like live up to the suit, you don't deserve to have it. It gets me every time. And that even though they make a joke at the end of it, I expect that in a Marvel movie where they have this really emotional beat and then they bring some levity at the end of it. But it's still like it's hard hitting, and the journey he goes through that, especially in the latter like third of the movie, is really powerful.
I see JD holding his tongue,
You can go now.
being respectful.
I cede the floor.
Yeah, no, okay, I get that. But, I don't know. Do you have thoughts on that scene?
My thought is I can't imagine being emotional at any point during this movie.
Really?
Really? I think that, like, I mean, I will say this. So out of the Marvel oeuvre, I think that the most yes.
That's a word I've never
It
heard.
is a word.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm using it correctly, to be fully honest with you. I'm going to
never
look it up
know.
right now. OEUVRE.
Yeah, I gotta add that to my lexicon.
Oh, and you know how to spell it.
Wow.
The works
Impressive.
of a painter, composer, author regarded collectively. So I did.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
100%
No,
accurate,
it's
but it's
close
close
enough.
enough.
You had a good college education.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're not
yes,
there yet.
Elon
You're not there yet.
University.
You got to get your senior year and take some more creative writing classes.
Yes. Oh, I actually am. In the fall, I'm taking creative writing class.
Good.
I'm very
Okay, so
excited.
sorry, oeuvre.
But so in the MCU, the times that I have felt emotional are very few and far between.
I agree, actually.
And I think the only one that comes to mind for me immediately is Avengers, not Endgame. What's the one right
Infinity
before?
War.
Infinity War.
Also with Tom, like that scene.
No,
Oh, not that scene.
not that scene.
Oh, really?
Not that scene at all.
Huh.
Because also, remember, I had watched that movie having not seen Civil War, having
Yeah.
not seen
That
Homecoming.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
don't, you know,
Like,
it's
who's this kid?
I
this
get
guy?
what he's doing. I don't understand the emotional resonance
Yeah,
of
yeah.
why he has this thing. What makes me emotional in that movie, though, is that you find a way to identify with Thanos,
Okay.
Yeah.
and that's some like high
Okay.
Shakespearean
Yeah.
drama.
Yes, because, and this is, so I rewatched this last night,
Uh-huh.
and that is something that I like had no clue of or didn't realize was an issue with film until I watched it last night. And
Are you about to say that he's
literally
not
get
relatable?
the no. You get the entire backstory of, I think, the best character in the movie before the opening title screen happens.
Who?
Of Thanos?
No, for
Oh,
Homecoming. Who
oh,
plays-
Vulture.
The bird
Vulture,
guy.
yeah.
Michael
who plays-
Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
yes.
Like, you get his
The
entire
Birdman.
backstory in
The
5 minutes.
Birdman.
And
Yeah,
he-
no,
and he goes-
exactly. It's-
Yes.
Yeah,
His
Birdman.
character arc of
Birdman.
playing Batman, like Bat the Bird the
but he
Universe.
goes,
Anyway.
he goes from being a guy who's trying to make a living to then vaporizing a guy and killing him.
Yes.
And,
You know
and
you're not
there's
wrong.
you have 5 minutes where it's just him getting rejected by the Department of Defense and saying, no, you're not allowed to have these fancy equipment.
Uh-huh.
To then like him being an ultimate bad guy. And like you don't see any of that progress. And it's like,
disagree.
if this movie was about the Vulture and then also just included Spider-Man, it would be great. Because I want to see that transformation. Like, why did he
Here's-
become a killer like madman?
We do kind of see that a little
We
bit,
do.
though.
Yes.
But to your point, you go ahead.
Yeah. So
I feel like you care more about this movie than I do. So I feel
You're
like
very
you
fair.
have to rebut
So,
JD.
I think
And then I'll come in and be the wedge to
There we
drive
go,
between
there we
you
go.
two.
Yes. I really like the villain in this movie. I think it's so
There's no
interesting.
backstory.
Okay.
he does.
Because you can't give away the backstory because that gives away the twist, which I think is the best part of this movie, is the twist where he's Liz's dad. And
Yes.
you
Yeah,
don't
that-
experience it. And it has one of the best scenes
The third
of
act
tension.
is great.
For context, for anyone who hasn't seen it, so
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Peter, Pedro, PDP.
That was great.
That was so
Yeah.
so-
But I was like,
again,
that's
such a
100%
good
like
joke.
ad lib on his
That was
side.
really
Yeah,
good.
100%. Such a
spitballing
dad
those.
joke.
Very dad
too.
joke.
So good.
But so he has a crush on Liz Allen, who is on his academic decathlon team.
Yes.
Yeah.
the head of it.
And he asks her to the homecoming dance,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes to her house to drive with her to the dance, and you find out that Michael Keaton is her dad.
Yeah.
After Michael Keaton has spent
Mm-hmm. So
the entire
good.
movie trying to murder
him.
Spider-Man
Well,
for
He doesn't murder him at first.
Well, he
He-
tries though.
he's pretty upset.
Yeah.
He pulls a gun on him in a car.
Yeah. Which, and I think from the moment Peter opens up the door to then like
Oh.
basically the rest of the movie. I
So
think that's
good.
great.
It's
Like,
so
I think,
good.
I think that whole third act is great.
Amazing.
Specifically that whole house scene and the car scene. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
And the scene where he saves him in the end, I think is really powerful. But yeah, I think it's really cool because you come to a point, at least I did, where you relate to him because he's trying to provide for his family, but also like he makes a very good point about how I'm about
Capitalism.
to buy into my dad's libertarian ideals here. Hi, Dad, if you're watching this, you'll be very proud of me. He makes a good point about the inefficiency of government and like saying I'm just trying to make a living for myself and all I want is to just make this life for my family. And I wrote in my notes, I'm like, he's kind of making some good points in that all he's trying to do is just trying to do this noble thing.
Right.
But then he
I feel like we watch different movies.
then the progress of my notes is like, oh wow, he's really going hardcore about trying to murder a minor here. So I do agree that it does go from 0 to 100 very fast, but I think that I see him as a foil almost to Tony's character in this movie because Tony, his whole arc is he's basically Peter's surrogate father in this, or acts like it almost, and he is willing to die for his family. Spoiler alert, at the end of Avengers Endgame, where Michael Keaton's character is willing to kill for his family, and I think that's a really interesting dichotomy.
Yes,
it doesn't get explored a ton in here, but I think it's really cool.
JD.
I agree with that. Like I think this movie again was as a Marvel movie, fine. Like, you know, Kirk Cuddy, fine Marvel movie, does what it needs to for the universe and to progress the story overall.
Right.
As a Spider-Man movie, it's horrible. Like,
Because you want the origin story. It sounds like.
not even the origin story. Because it's okay without the origin. Because also apparently Vulture had been doing this for 8 years. There's a lot. I was like, wait, where did that come from?
Yeah.
But I think like I didn't feel connected to like his relationship with Liz. Like
That's
there wasn't
true.
a build up around that.
But there really couldn't be.
And then like the stakes. Like I didn't feel like at any point was there
any actual
like,
danger?
Yeah.
That's a Marvel movie problem through and through, though.
Yeah. Like the fairy
This
scene.
is why I think Infinity War is still is the best Marvel movie.
That's very
Because
true.
there are
Clear
stakes, and you're
yeah.
and you're legitimately surprised at what happens.
Yeah.
See, that's what I thought until No Way Home. And then I'm like,
That's
he has
true.
stakes. Like
He
he's
does
given
have
up his
stakes.
name. He's given up his friends to be Spider-Man.
Oh.
And that's why I was like, No Way Home
We have very
is his origin story. Like that is his
we
origin
have
story movie.
very different
and it
opinions about
sets
the
it up-
ending of No Way
And
Home.
it sets him up to then have his like whatever else they're gonna do with him.
I think I totally disagree with you on that, but I'm also intrigued to hear what your thoughts on that are.
The ending of No Way Home.
Yes.
I understand it's objectively good, but he needs therapy and to not cut everyone out of his life after going through emotional trauma and losing a parental figure.
Here's the thing, Emily. Men will literally open a multiverse to try
You're not
and to keep their crush from remembering a silly thing they did, then go to therapy.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
And the sooner you understand that, the better.
I also did that, but now I'm getting therapy, so we're making progress.
There you go. Good job.
Yeah.
I think that like what this movie did for me, I would give both this and No Way Home 3 stars. I think they're both totally fine.
Uh-huh.
But this one gets like a little this one of the points on the stars is just a little bit longer.
This is
Higher? You think it's higher?
Yes. Because
Oh.
I think and I'm curious as to why you love No Way
Yeah.
Home. Whereas I I know you're a Spider-Man fan through and through. Do
My
you?
favorite superhero.
He's a great
That's a great
superhero.
superhero to
He's a very good
choose.
superhero.
He's very good.
And you came away from No Way Home not digging it.
We have
Yeah.
2 shot shut off.
Oh,
All right.
pause. Holding.
Holding.
Oh, nice. We got 30 minutes in without it
Yeah.
stopping.
And that one's still going. So that's beautiful.
Good deal. I see something. Okay, that one's still. I thought I saw something blinking on there, but everything looks
Yeah.
good.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
So you, Emily.
Yes.
You are more in my And well, this is not really my vein. You're sort of flip the scales where like you're not really impressed by No Way Home in the same way that JD is not impressed by Homecoming.
Yeah, I mean, most of No Way Home I really enjoyed. Even as someone who hasn't seen any other Spider-Man movies, I think they're dynamic.
so perfect.
Called it. This part we are going to leave in.
All right.
Because why not?
This is what the interns do behind the
Yes,
scenes.
yes,
during the
welcome.
normal-
This is our
when we're
job.
not
It's
in
just
front of the camera.
Yes.
hitting camera buttons for
Elon,
an
get
hour.
better cameras.
Preach.
Please, Jay McMurdy, please.
I will be sending Jay McMurdy an email
Yes.
that I didn't get around to sending him the entire semester, even though you so kindly wrote it for me.
It's fine.
But yes, to your point,
So I liked the dynamic between the three Spider-Man. I thought it was overall a very good movie. The ending to me, I think that's the thing is I like Homecoming so much because you see Peter as a kid, and then by that time he's grown up, and it's an adult choice that he makes at the end to not involve anyone in his life. It's a wrong choice though.
agreed.
In my opinion. But I do understand the character arc, and I think one of my favorite things about Homecoming is it sets up the arc for the whole 3-movie structure. So I think I wrote in my notes that like this first movie, he has power but wants responsibility.
This is a good one.
The second movie, he doesn't want power or responsibility. And the third movie, he has the power and the responsibility finally by the end.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Great.
This is what my film degree is worth, everyone.
Very well done.
Yes. But yeah, it's so interesting. I think this is why this one's my favorite, is because it's just fun. Like, you get to see him be a kid even though he doesn't want to be a kid, and that's such a relatable thing to me, is like wanting to feel older and grown up, but still like still get that little bit of levity in there where like you're still taking a girl to homecoming and all that.
I think where I stand is like this Homecoming worked a little bit more for me because it felt different. But No Way Home, while still like a solid time, I enjoyed it. It feels more like a traditional, crazy, bombastic superhero movie.
It does.
Like
It's pretty far out there.
Yeah.
I fell asleep during the Avengers. You
Wow.
know, and it felt like this was. It's just kind of like at some point, it's cool, but it's like so cool that my eyes kind of glaze over a
That's
little bit
fair.
I'm
That's
like,
fair.
It's just spectacle.
it's
Yeah,
a spectacle.
it is.
Yeah, and
there's parts of this movie that feel like that too. Like all the big set pieces are cool, but I'm like, here's my thing about Marvel movies is I loved the first 2/3 of Endgame because I'm like, I just want the character development. The action is cool, but I'm like, it's all like, it's not the meat of the story. And I feel like sometimes they get lost in the weeds of what the actual important stuff is.
I feel like in Homecoming there's more heart
Yes.
than in No Way Home.
Absolutely.
That's just the way. That's my take.
Yeah. So I like with what Emily was saying earlier. Like I do, having rewatched this last night. Like I did get much more of that like childish feel and somebody who wants like is young and wants the responsibility of an adult. And so like I do see that much more than I did previously before rewatching it. But I still think that like I guess just looking at it to the previous Spider-Mans that existed.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Is that confirmed? Spider-Man?
Yes.
The Spider-Man that existed. Like if you take the train scene from Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire and compare that to the ferry scene.
Train scene wins every time.
Like it's not even close, right? And it's just like I don't connect. I don't feel connected.
I understand.
Oh, the train
I do
scene.
understand, though.
So that's a moment where
like the whole city rallies behind him and whatnot, and it's like I don't feel connected to the people on the ferry.
That's true.
Right.
And like I
that's
don't
a very
feel,
good point. Yeah.
and like I don't feel connected to Liz, where it's like with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. Like I feel connected to that relationship.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so there are, I guess, aspects of the previous Spider-Man movies that I was like, great feel in the original trequel regarding a specific area, great feel to the relationship side of things in the Andrew Garfield set. And then this, I was like, I guess it does do a good job of being more like kiddish and like actually portraying a 15-year-old high school student. But I just felt that it like lacks the stakes, and so like he screws up, and then Tony's like, you did a bad job, and he's like, but I still want my suit, and he's like, you can't have it. It's like
that's correct. That's accurate though.
Yeah.
Like it felt like this is the person here who has not seen the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What I think works really well about those movies, and I'm sure that you might also feel this way, is my guess, is that those movies, because they are existing outside of a grand scheme of a literal cinematic universe, where they are smaller, and although there is superhero spectacle, although there's fights, and although there's all of the origin story stuff that you see over and over and over again, they feel a little bit more grounded because there's not alien weaponry in play.
Very true.
From the jump.
Yeah.
From literally the opening scene of this movie is Michael Keaton, salvaging alien weaponry. That just is not going to put you in the same headspace as watching Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina's relationship blossom and then deteriorate. It's a different, it's human, and it has the heart that this movie movie has a little bit of.
And that's why I think it would have been cool if they explored, and I know you can't really have a bigger Tom Holland Michael Keaton relationship because then that kills the reveal. But explore the relationship with Liz more so that when he finds out, he that hits harder, or when he decides to leave her at homecoming, that decision is already made by the time he gets out of the car because he leaves his phone in the car.
That's very true.
So you don't
that
even
does kind of
see his
that.
oh, do I live up to this responsibility or do I not? He's just I'm gonna ditch my girl at homecoming. And I would just love to see more of that emotional torment. Because
it felt like, you're right, it felt like it was a foregone conclusion that he was always going to choose the Spider-Man life. Which is what it
the
is.
point of the movie in the
I know.
It is.
It is. And I think what's kind of cool about that is in the second movie, he does choose to be Peter, but then kind of is forced back into that role. And I think that's something he grapples with throughout the series. I kind of a detour question. Have both of you seen Into the Spider-Verse?
Yes. Love Into the Spider-Verse.
Great
so
movie.
I think that does an amazing job at showing normal kid life, and then suddenly it's such a honestly, I think I love that more than Homecoming. But it's also a very different movie.
Into the Spider-Verse is a movie that I do love.
So good.
Unequivocally love
Incredible.
that movie. And I think that it does all of the things that good storytelling actually does. Where there's a level of emotional connection that you feel with the characters, where they don't just feel like cardboard cutouts. There's some depth that feels fresh, and it feels a little bit more realistic, and you can identify with them in a way that, what's the best way to put this? It doesn't feel paint by numbers. I guess that's probably the best way to put it.
No, it absolutely isn't.
Even when you're talking about when you brought that up, I was like, that movie feels artistic. It's a work of
100%.
art.
Yes.
And so that's literally by definition the opposite of a paint by numbers sort of thing.
Yes.
I remember seeing that in theaters and just feeling joy for the entire time. I'm like, this is just so fun.
That was one of the reviews. Somebody said that about Homecoming. Is after they watch Homecoming, they're like, this is the movie you watch, and you just feel joyful for the next 2 days. I'm like, no, it's not.
I think it is. I think it's just so much fun.
Fun
It is.
time at the movies.
It really
is.
is.
Okay. But I do think that there are obviously better superhero movies. I think that this kind of movie is done better within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, outside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't have any real gripe with the production of the movie. Here comes the movie police again. They're coming.
Movie police. Hello.
They're ready.
Hi.
I think my biggest problem with the movie too, and this is something that is also prevalent more and more in MCU movies, the CGI. You can really tell in this movie that there's so much CGI used.
It doesn't make sense because they have so much money.
Yeah.
You'd think.
Although you say
know.
that, but no spoilers for Doctor Strange, but last night there were some moments in there I'm like, You could have made that not look like a green screen, but you did. Also,
Yes, I've heard that from
I have
somebody else who I've seen.
There are
told
parts
me
of
about
that
this
movie that are incredible CGI, but the like first 20 minutes, I'm like, oh my god, what are they doing? Also, they like lose focus on Wanda's face in a scene for like 3 seconds. I'm like, you are Marvel. You can reshoot this.
Like you're the biggest production company in
Anyway,
the world,
yeah.
practically, and you have
You have so much money.
hundreds of millions
So
of
much
dollars.
money.
But
Kevin Feige, please.
Kevin.
Kevin. Begging
Bubby,
you.
come on. The problem is when you have something that is big and sprawls like that,
Yeah.
there's no quality control
Yeah.
to a certain point
That's very
you
true.
you can't. I'm sure that the people who are doing all of the post work on those movies, they after how long has it been since the MCU's been in existence? Almost 20 years.
many years.
Yeah.
Probably. Somewhere around.
If that is if the same post houses
Oh my God.
and
yeah.
VFX artists are probably the
Yeah.
same ones working on these movies over that time span.
and how many movies they have to do. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a Marvel movie coming out in
so
June
many,
and then August,
yeah.
whatever.
I
And so
know.
it's like they got to crank those out.
It's
You're
nuts.
doing an amazing job.
They are doing they're doing great, but also you're missing some things here
Yeah,
and there.
I know.
And I don't think that that's like sure, maybe that's just a byproduct of like when you have a cash cow and you have basically a mandate from your boss and from society to continue cranking these movies out. A couple things are gonna slip through the cracks.
It will be interesting to see if the MCU ever ends. Because I saw Endgame and everything I've seen since Endgame, I'm like, this feels like a little bit like beating a dead horse. Just slightly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've kind of stopped watching after Endgame.
Yeah.
I heard this thing about Spider-Man Homecoming and the Spider-Mans.
Spider-Man.
The Spider-Man.
And so you haven't seen the other one, so it's more so geared towards you. But I've heard that and I agree with this perspective, that Toby was the best Peter, Andrew was the best Spider-Man, and Tom Holland's just decent at both. He's the
Really?
only one who's like decent at both, and that's why he's
a
now the
really
biggest.
good Peter.
He's a good Peter, but Tobey Maguire I think is the better.
You gotta watch
Peter.
that. Like I
You
don't
really gotta watch
I
it.
know. I know.
Because what happens, like Tom Holland,
Maybe not Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like that one you can skip.
I'll watch the other one.
The problem is Tom Holland is good looking enough to be like believable
That's why I was
that
like,
he
there's
would
no way he's
get
getting
the
bullied.
girl. Yeah,
But I was like, there's no way he's
true.
getting bullied by Flash.
Yeah.
In the Homecoming.
That's
I'm
true.
like, that guy is
Also,
not bullying Tom Holland.
I do have a gripe with this. I'm like, the nerdiest thing you can pull out is, oh, let's go build Star Wars. Like, I'm like, make them play D&D. But also, D&D is becoming more mainstream. But
they also
anyway,
got they got the rights. They got to keep
Yeah,
it in the
Star
family.
Wars.
That's
Yeah, that's
actually
true.
very true.
Yeah.
I did not. Wizards of
There's a whole
the
merchandise plan.
Coast. Come on, license it.
Wizards of the
Put
Coast.
D&D in Marvel movies. I'll be very happy.
I think
Oh, and
Toby-
Zendaya should have been played up
Zendaya's
more
so
in this
good.
movie. Because
she's
She
really
is
under the
so good.
radar. She is
really,
quite good.
I
didn't
loved
realize that.
her
How
MJ
much?
in this.
Yeah.
She's so weird, and it's. I think I wrote in my notes. I'm like, this is how you do not like other girls, because it's not like she's cool. She's just like so bizarre
But it's
and
played
weird,
perfectly.
and it's
Like, it
so
fits in
funny.
great.
Zendaya is so talented.
Yeah.
I love her in No Way Home, especially like when her and
Homecoming?
Peter find. What?
Homecoming.
Far From Home, I mean.
Far From
I love their dynamic in Far From Home when they like reveal that they have feelings for each other. Just so awkward around each other for so long. It's so good.
Ooh, see now I got to watch Far From Home so I can
Yeah.
decide whether or not I'm sort of in the middle.
it's
Also,
It's more of a Marvel movie than Homecoming.
fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you played the Spider-Man video game?
I've watched my friends play it.
Play it.
It seems fun. Does Tom Holland do the voice in that of
No,
Spider-Man?
they changed the face though. Like when the game first came out, it was just
Gotcha.
another person, and then they changed it to Tom
To be
Holland.
Tom Holland.
That's wild.
Smart.
Did he
Yeah.
get paid for that?
Probably.
Yeah, he's probably got some
Yeah,
some
and
sort
likeness.
of thing.
Are you in media law? Likeness rights?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I vaguely remember likeness rights
Yeah.
chat from Media Law. So the Spider-Man video game, that's what you want at the end of the
Well, because I
day.
knew you were going to the question of what
You,
would we
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
instead.
yeah.
This is what happens when you're
Yeah,
Yeah, we know
Customs
the
podcast.
format.
You know the format.
Yeah.
So what would we watch instead?
Yes.
And I said the Spider-Man video game because
Which
I've
is fair.
100% completed that game. Because then you get him, but in like underwear, and so you're swinging around your
right.
city,
You get
like,
the other.
in
Yeah,
underwear.
you get all the other
I mean, as you
costumes.
should.
That as
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a movie version is great. And then I forget what I also. I mean, No Way Home. Literally, I was like in my hometown theater, recliner chair seats, and like my probably easily top 3 favorite movies of all time.
Wow.
Like I moved from the
That's
recliner seat to the
interesting.
floor in the back of
Crazy.
the theater and just
That
curled up
is
and watched
crazy
it.
to me.
It was beautiful.
I just don't get why that movie had such an effect on
I need to
people.
rewatch it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it
The
was
apartment
good.
scene at the end is the same as like in the video game, so it like was cool.
That's
I
true.
see.
I was totally
Is it
on
cool or
board
is it derivative?
right until the end. I was totally on board right until the end. I'll be honest.
What do you think people should watch instead?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking for like a coming of age dramedy, I love Booksmart. I rewatched it for like the 3rd time last weekend with a friend of mine. It's so good at what it does, and it's so funny, but also so heartfelt, and also has really amazing queer representation. And it captures the feeling of being a gifted kid so well. It's such a personal attack, but in the best way. And it's so fun. And like a little bit raunchy, but also like it's in the end of the day, like the ending scene where no spoilers, but the ending scene gets me every
Spoil
time.
it. It's fine.
Where the one friend is dropping off the other friend at the airport to go to I forget one country, but then trying to have a brave face while saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Hurts me every time, and then coming back and going to get pancakes hard cut into the credits. Amazing.
that's
It's
a
so
cool
good.
hard
It's a really great
so
movie.
good.
I really enjoyed Booksmart.
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
Oh, you got to see it.
You need
should.
to.
I will
It's
watch
so
that
good.
when you watch Spider-Man 2.
There we go.
You
We'll
should.
do it. We'll do
You
it.
should watch the first 2
should.
Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah. Also, do not need to watch.
You
the
don't
third
need to see
Sam Raimi.
Spider-Man 3.
All right, so I'll see 1, 2, and then 1.
Yeah.
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 Just skip and just keep skipping ahead.
Okay.
I think if you're looking for a good Spider-Man movie, then yeah, we've touched all those bases.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a good Marvel movie, we've touched all those bases. If you're looking for a good coming of age movie,
So good.
touched all those bases. This movie, it does an okay job of blending all 3.
it's fine.
It's fine.
I think it does pretty well.
Eh, but this is why the episode's called the Interns Debate.
It is.
Which a first time we've ever had that specific nomenclature. So
Yeah.
kudos to breaking
I know
that.
we set the groundwork.
we did. Yeah.
Really breaking some new ground.
That's
here.
all
Your
right.
little onboarding
Yeah.
document too. I don't know if you
I
still
saw
check
that.
it out.
I read through it. I
I need to
modified
make
it a little
mine.
bit.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
exciting.
So-
I will be making mine sometime this week.
Excellent.
And so
I cannot wait for the new interns to
Yes.
listen to this episode
Yes.
and see what they're in store for.
try to live up to our great.
Yes. Yeah.
you know.
Gotta make better jokes than we did.
Y'all did great.
you.
And that's not just on this episode, but over the course of the whole semester of
Yeah.
your chunk in time. I look forward to seeing what y'all do after this.
Absolutely.
And in the future. And speaking of which, if people want to follow you as you go through your senior year and then enter the professional world, where can they do that?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prins Productions.
Twitter.
That's
Wow,
Prins Productions.
You don't
I'm
have a
aware.
Twitter.
Sorry.
Here's the thing, I don't
Sorry,
tweet.
continue.
I'm not rarely on Twitter, so it's very irregular updates. I apologize. But yeah, Prins, it's with an S and not a CE. I apologize. It's weird.
Y'all Gen Z kids
Yeah.
with your no Twitters.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine.
Here's the thing,
Do you
I
have
was
a Facebook.
Yeah, I have a
Dude,
Facebook.
I have
that
a
means you're
Facebook.
old.
I have a Facebook. But yeah, you can follow me there. If you want to follow my TikTok, where I make just a varied assortment of content, sometimes about Dungeons and Dragons. Emily at Emily Prins 2. And yeah, I very rarely post on Twitter and Instagram, but you can follow me there. And yeah, if you want to hire me out from under Jay, you can DM me
You
on those
could
platforms.
do it. And JD, what about you?
I pretty much only. I mean, I have all other accounts, but Instagram is my main platform. JDG713.
Very good.
And yeah, so feel free to follow me, DM me if you're looking for any help on any projects. I'm
Yeah.
always looking to work and learn.
Look
So,
at that.
Absolutely.
Gotta
That's
get
a
the
good
professional
promo.
plug.
Yes,
Smart.
for sure. Yes. Hire us.
And you can, of course, follow me at Diet J, at Blockbusting Pod.
Yes.
Another intern production.
Yeah.
That
was us.
For on all the social platforms. And if you like the show, consider supporting on Patreon, and you get some bonus content eventually. I haven't done any bonus content.
Yeah. You've been busy though.
I've been super
so
busy.
busy.
That's
Getting
one.
yelled at by Gordon Ramsay.
Oh boy, I have some. I love Gordon, but all of the other stuff around. I've got some
boy.
crazy stories to tell whenever I have some time. And you will hear that only if you subscribe on Patreon
Yes.
because I name names.
Ooh,
And
exclusive content.
that's
Don't
the
want
kind
that
of-
out on the web.
Don't want that on the
No.
web without a paywall.
Yes.
But it's $2 a month. It's not that much of a paywall.
It's less than a cup of coffee,
Yeah,
guys.
exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So good. You've been listening and learning, and I like that. JD, Emily, thank you so much for a wonderful semester.
Thank you.
This has been wonderful.
This has been wonderful, and this has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.